from Lake Taupo. So, but anyway, with electricity in New Zealand, let's just give you an idea. There's 55% of it is hydroelectricity, so enough water over there, and geothermal is only 7.7. Then they've got coal, gas, and other. They're going into a lot of the new windmills and solar and bits and pieces. So, but obvious water is the biggest thing there, and geothermal is fairly small. Though I say small, there is 9 geothermal power stations now in New Zealand. Some are very, very small. Others are, Wairakei is the biggest one, generating about 170 odd kilowatts. But the biggest thing is what they call it, when I was there, it was a 98% load factor. It's now an 89% load factor station, and of course they don't have to pay for the oil to fire up the steam, so which is very, very good for them. Just between Lake Taupo and the power station is what they call Hooker Falls. It's quite a spectacular. Most people have been there. It's very much on the scenic side of things. The first person recorded as going over that officially was Kerry Packer. They lived they were staying at the Hooker Lodge, which is a very upmarket lodge, just about a K up above that. And they all got a bit inebriated one night, and they found a floating dinghy, and they jumped in, and now they went, and they all came out the other end. So a bit crazy, but as you can see, it's a kayaking thing nowadays, and if you've been there, you see the roar of water. They've got to be brave, no two ways about it. The closest I've been is just about where that last yacht, or just a bit further back from that in a boat. Went up there one day, and it's very, very frightening when this massive water is just coming at you at a great rate of knots. It's the first hydro dam on the mighty Waikato River. It's only about an 80 kilowatt power station, very much fluctuating power station. They close the control gates up here, fill the lake up, and then open the turbine shaft down, run it for 4 or 5 hours, and then shut her up again. And the next power station further down the river, it does the same, it fills up. So it's a constant. And there's 9 power stations on the river. This here is what we call the Wairakei Rapids. They're normally dry. They open the gates up twice a day for the tourists. They run it for 20 minutes and shut them up again. I think it was last year 2 Canadians got washed off and drowned. Because they got down there, they send sirens off and all sorts of things, while it's when they're going to do it. So that's looking down on Wairakei there. The power from the dam wall, which is up here, these pipes go down under the ground into the surge tank. The surge tank's just got a balance tank, and it just keeps a constant pressure, and then down through the power station and carry on down the Waikato River. So here's the rapids, which I was talking about. So in basics, a hydro, as I say, you've got the dam wall, you've got the sluice gates, which open and shut, comes down into the turbine. When I was there working at the geothermal power station, part of our job was to maintain this one. And to get into here, we used to drop this manhole up in here. They used to open it up, leave it for there, the lid off for 3 days with a big fan blowing into it, and then they'd lower a rope ladder down through, and then drop the rope right down. And you just get down the ladder and hang onto this rope and slide yourself all the way down the bottom. And for about 3 weeks we'd be doing that daily, and the biggest job was welding up the blades. Blades used to get a lot of cavitation on them at the back of them, and you get huge holes in the back, so it was a matter of sitting there with the welder, and I was a supervisor at the time, so part of my job was sit there and watch him all day do stupid weld-up jobs. So I wasn't allowed to do any, so supervise, yeah, because there was always trout, dozens of trout caught in this little area down in here, so it was quite a good thing to sort of get down to. So then we get into the principles of steam, as we all know. You put the kettle on and that's what you get. So geothermal, Wairakei, started in 1958 was when it was first developed, and it has grown since then, so it's very unique. Wairakei was the first flash steam. The first geothermal power stations were in Italy, where it was a dry steam, and of course this is flash steam, which is 80%, out of the 100% that comes out of the bore, 80% is water, and then they flash the steam off it and drop the water down, and originally all the water used to flow into the Waikato River, and then they decided that they should be pumping some of the water back down. So some of the wells got holes back down alongside, so they pumped the flashed off water back down. But it's pretty political, all that, so especially the environmental side of things. Housing there, that was the type of housing they put us up in. We used to pay $22 a fortnight rent and free electricity that went with it. So we do get a few little perks. The actual house we were in was that one in there.
Oh, the dunny.
Yeah, the little dunny. That was about it too. But the surprising thing is they were brick homes, and every day there was like 40 earthquakes. And I mean 40 earthquakes. So we had a seismological recorder at the power station, and all day long the ground was shaking. It was, you know, you'd get some bigger ones, and yet there was no major ones. That were all small, that rattle the cups and that sort of thing. But they built brick houses, so it was surprising. And I remember, walking around there one day. I couldn't find a crack in it, so I danced it there. But I think it was 3-bedroom houses. Yeah. The geothermal, the basis of it is you've got the magna or the red hot rock down here, and then you've got the geothermal reservoir where the water's coming in. They put a bore down, take it off, steam's there, and what they call the injection well, and they push the water back down, so the recycle type of thing. A bit more classical on that one. There's the magnet down here where they bring the thing, they call it brine. It's the water, the 80% of the water. It's a very salty, different type of brine than what we know of, but they call it a brine thing. They flash the steam off, that goes up through the power station, down through the condenser, then back the wastewater, then gets pumped back down the well. When I was there in '77, that was the Waikato River. It was as simple as that. So at least they're doing the right thing now, and I'll show you why soon. Turbine generator, steam turbine, as I say, most of the same. You've got the steam coming in, basis the turbine blades through to a generator. So types, that's the main highway, just going, the village where we used to live is just back this way. I think that's going towards Taupo, so to the right is the main road to Auckland. Heat of the rock, there's a lot of rocks around the place, 61 degrees, so you can see where, and that's just outside. That's in certain areas, not everywhere you go, but there's certain areas where you go and you don't hang on to it too much. But
we're talking degrees F or degrees C?
C. Very warm, I can tell you. Yeah.
Clint,
Yeah.
what was the purpose of the sign that just said steam?
In the winter months, the road you can hardly see across, right? Because the bore field is up one side, the power station down the other, and the steam pipes come through, and you get this airflow that comes down towards the river, and it's just a thick fog, real thick fog, and it's all just from the bores. Downstream of Wairakei, a place called Wairakei Karaka. It's a geothermal wonderland. We used to go up there on a boat, and because it was a tourist area, they used to come screaming out in their little boats to make sure we didn't go and climb up on their jetty and get in for nothing. That was way back in 1977, so it's probably just as bad. So. Next one. Rightio. That there is the first picture of a geothermal bore. You've got the bore here, and the steam coming off, and there's a little steam engine, and he obviously had a generator connected somewhere amongst all that. And that was the first start of, yes, it can be done. So it's one of those. Next one. That's one of the early drill rigs. And I'll put it as an early drill rig because the ones today are like 40 tonne, and they go downhill a long way and totally different, but that was one of the early ones. So that there is bang run. You can see this fella's hightail here, this one here that's heading off too, and that's one of the first bores that went down. And do they have problems with blowouts and bits and pieces? Well, yes they do. That was one of the first ones that started to blow up. They were putting the well down. They've dragged the stuff away, and this is the start of the well is disintegrating. And then the next one, there she goes. She's blowing up here. This is all the rock and muck that comes out of it. This was the main road, so it was virtually by the side of the main road on this day. And thing there, and that went on, getting bigger and bigger. There's this thing, and that's the crater as it is today. It's 70 metres in diameter, and that went for 13 years before it died on its own. It just slowly slowed down and died. And the reason it died is that the pressure, because they're drawing so much steam out from under the ground, is the pressure is dropping continuously, and it's just slowly dried up. So it's just one of those things. That's one of the testings in the early days. We used to stay in Taupo when they were doing this, and you could hear the roar of them at night, where they would just let the ball go, and it's cleaning all the dirt and the rubbish out of down below, and that sort of
How far away are you in Taupo?
probably 7-8 k's away. Really, really loud. It was about it. And another one, just testing, pressure testing and all that sort of stuff. So as a flow test, they used to put up thing, and the reason they got to do the testing, every bore they put down is different pressure. So it's not as though it's an equal pressure underneath the ground. It's all, every bore, they don't know what it's going to be until they get down there. And by the time they flash the steam off, whether it can be high pressure or medium pressure or low pressure. So it's one of those things I've got to work on. These were just bores, they just let them run and say block ears, because again, when we were in Taupo, yes, you'd hear it was roaring away, and how people slept up there, I don't know, but it was just left out there. This thing. That's one of the early photos of the power station and the bore field. You can see the bore field way up in here, they call it. And this is the power station down here. So you got two power. Next one's probably two showed different. There's the early bore fields. We used to drive up the valley, as they used to call it, and have a look at the bore fields. And today there's a Tarsal road up there. It's part of the tourist strip that's up amongst it. So I think that's what it is today. Not much steam coming out of much there. It's all collected and taken away and used. These are the exhaust silencers. Silencer. Where those pipes were blowing out before, they then hooked them into these things and let them puff away in there. But these are even later ones, because this is after the steam's been, the majority of the steam's been collected and sent to the power station. There's always a bit left over. It's like when you see out there's a oil refinery, there's that flame burning. It's the residue type stuff that's left over. So these are some of the pipes, feeder pipes, head off down to the power station. I think it's 4.5 k from the furthest bore field to the power station, so it's quite a distance to run it down. The lagging is a compressed fiberglass, it's like a brick. You've got to saw it with power saws and bits and pieces, so it's not soft stuff. One of the things that just looking down different angles of the bore field, there's a western bore field, there's the eastern bore field, and just different ones coming forth. So again, there's a lot of pipe work going into it, and from the early days to what it is today is chalk and cheese of how they do it. One of the interesting jobs I had when I was there, the boss came to me one day and he said, we've got to do an inspection. I said, yeah, where are these? Up the bore field. And we didn't go up there very often because it was run by the Ministry of Works, but every so often he did get called in. And I didn't really query him too much, but he said, oh, when we get there it'll be interesting for you. And I said, yeah, okay. Away we went. And I kept asking, what are we doing? He said, oh, just testing. We're just going to do a visual test, everybody else. So we get up there and we hop out of the ute and we wander over to the pipeline, and they've got a section out of the pipeline. He said, right, you're going down first. And I said, you've got to be joking. I'll go down if you go down. He said, well, I'll do the one next door. And they had these little trolleys with wheels on, and you laid on it. They had a big rope tied to you, and away you went. And you had to count every join in the pipe. And you used to have a measuring gauge to see how deep the hole was, or the rut of the water that goes through ate the pipe away. I tell you what, if you're claustrophobic, it was there, because all I could think of was some days it turns the steam pipe on, I'm going to go out the other end, but they couldn't because it was a 40-foot gap in the pipeline. So, but you wrote down a little pad in front of you and squash, trying to look at things, and I did it once, and but anyway, you measure it, they go away, and then they decide pipe number 37 from wherever you were, or whatever number, needs turning. So they would undo the bolts and turn the pipe one bolt hole on the flange. And that was enough. And that would last another 2 years. So, because the water going down, it ate grooves in the bottom of the pipe. It was just penny how deep it was worth turning. So
Stop the gouging.
stop the gouging, yeah. There was a horrible feeling down there, I can tell you. So, but you know, it was a pretty big pipe, I can tell you that.
I've been down some.
Yeah, it's a horrible. This is an old photo of, well, it's a new photo, but this is one of the old bores here. The old unpainted one. These are the newer ones. You can see there's a lot of mechanicals in there, pipe work and valves and things like that. The smallest pipe is 300 mil, biggest is 4 feet.
Where were they made?
The pipes used, well, probably over here. We don't make much over there. Pipe work anyway. But all the lagging and that, so it's just endless. When I was there, it was all asbestos. So one of my jobs before I left the place was start to de-lagging the place and re-lagging it with fiberglass and stuff, so, which is quite interesting. My little granddaughter, we were over there last. Thought it was a great fun thing. She'd seen enough of the steam. Now, this is getting down to the power station. This is a new binnery plant where they're using the leftover hot water. This has only been built since, I think it was 2005. It's this plant here. How it works, I've got no idea, but when you read about it, it says it's from the excess hot water that's been flashed off. They're reusing that to generate steam again, to use in the power station. They're now getting 13 megawatts of power from it, so it's a very worthwhile thing. And apparently some of the other new stations that have been built are on that system, so it's technical know how it's going on. Where I've got the B and A stations, it's quite simple. There's two power stations, B and A. A, when I was there, had 4, 8, 10 generators in it, and B's got 3 generators, 30 megawatts in this one, and that had, these were what are called intermediate pressure, low pressure type turbines. And the other station, they had 4 high pressure ones, which then went into the intermediate pressure ones, which were bigger again, and then they went into the low pressure turbines, which is the biggest of the lot. But these ones in here were pretty big. In between the two stations, there's quite a big gap. And when they built the power station, that gap, there's a big concrete pit in there. And when I got there, I said, what the hell was that for? And they said, we used to make heavy water for the nuclear power stations in England. But it became too costly, so they ripped it out again. So it's always surprising what you find when you go and work for a place at what went on.
So how much heavier than normal water is the heavy water?
Well, I don't know, but there's quite a lot in it because when I said earlier about, I'll tell you why, the problem with the wastewater going into the Waikato River. The Waikato starts at Lake Taupo, goes all the way, Auckland's just up here, so it's a long river. Right? These are all the different hydros, but it's arsenic levels, right? Satisfactory is 0.01, Lake Taupo 0.01, right? Wairakei is about here, right? Wairakei is the new one coming on. It goes straight up to 0.25, and all the way right down it's 0.2, 0.17. It's starting to get lower and lower until it gets up there. The arsenic levels are gone off that. So from that, they now virtually inject all the water back down the wells. The new plant, they take it back and inject it in separate bores around the bore field. They don't put it down virtually the same borehole. Put new wells all around the outside.
So where's the arsenic coming from?
Out of the ground originally. The brine that I said earlier, that comes in, and it's in that as well. Plus a whole multitude of other horribles as well. So.
That's why Wairakei, the dam is no good. The state government spent a fortune building the thing, and then they found the water was full of arsenic.
From arsenic, yeah.
It comes off blue metal rock.
Yeah, is that where it is? Yeah, well, I'm not sure what the hell's down the bottom because every water's different. So inside the power station, you've got these are the big turbines. This is a turbine that's got the lid off it. We call the lid. There's this big casing lid here. This is an IP, LP type turbine. These are the gas regulating valves, your throttle or your carburetor, call it whatever you like, so letting the steam in. Steam goes through these both ways and then back down, and underneath is a huge condenser, which will show up on another one soon. Well, that's just the inside of an intermediate pressure turbine. These are your steam valves, the pipes coming in for your steam, through the turbines here and then down into the condenser to cool off. This here is your governors. These things run at 1500 revs, some run at 2500 revs, so they scream around. I know when you start them up, you're standing up on the floor, especially some of the big turbines, and they take about 3 hours to bring up to speed. And after about 15 minutes, the whole floor starts bouncing, and they open them up quite quick through that period just to get them settled down again. And it's rather frightening. You're not sure which way to go. So yeah, just lifting one of the turbines out. Virtually, through the winter months, everything is going. It's running flat out. So you've got a period of time when they do a turbine, they come in, we get instructions saying, right, you can take it, whatever turbine's due for an overhaul, you can take it out at 10 o'clock on Monday morning, and it's got to be brought back online at 3 o'clock on Tuesday, 7 weeks time, or 10 weeks time, or 12 weeks, or whatever it was. Different turbines with different allocation of time periods. So you had to get all your work done in that period. It was heads down, butt up, and go for it. So.
Did they use Parsons turbines?
Sorry?
Did they use Parsons turbines?
No.
They didn't.
No.
All the Australian ones are Parsons.
These are all different. There's 4 different types of turbines on each side. So we're all tried, because it's geothermal and wet steam, they didn't know really what to put in. So they've tried all A station where there's 3 rows of them, they're all different makes, solely to find out what the hell worked and what didn't work. And when you read up the history on them, it's quite interesting. The problems they had in the early days, and trying to get things to work, and the metals were wrong, and supplied complete new turbines under warranty and all this sort of stuff. It's, yeah. So in your big B station, they're called, the low pressure is 1.1 bar, so you're talking less than 20 psi, 3.6 bar on the intermediate side. These are your control valves or your carburetors that bounce up and down. All your steam goes through, then down inside the condensers down here. These are your main steam pipes coming up either sides and going in the condensers there. I was in charge of doing one of these one day, my first turbine overhaul. Is this thing fluctuating? Must be. The final day I was off crook, and with power stations, everything you do, you've got to have clearances on. You've got to go and sign off and sign off. So for me to sign off something, I had to go to my boss. He signed it off. His boss would sign it off, and it would be a day of signing off things. And anyway, I was not there that day, and somehow I got missed. There was 4 fellas. We used to hide in the condenser. It was a great place. The condenser would be 30 foot tall, I suppose, and 15 foot wide, all covered in plates and to deflect the water and all that. And 4 fellas were sitting there playing cards, and somebody opened the water valve. And they dragged the last fella out. By chance they got him out. So talk about the stuff hitting the fan in a big way, all hell let loose. So they had to shut it down. And so that's looking down on the condensers there. There used to be a manhole piston through the side and here, going through, up and here, going through. And, so those pipes there are about 2 feet in diameter. So there's a lot of water gets thrown in it. So, yeah. That's one of the turbine blades, or set of blades. They've got all your blades in here. You've got a ring around the outside. These are all riveted on, so you get a whole range. And then you can just see on the other side here, the next. This is a knife LP type thing. So just the timers on. That's the LP side of it. It's being doing an overhaul on it. That there's looking down while we're working on it. They have a deflector plate here just to control the steam, to stop it bouncing around all over the place. They found with the low pressure and high pressure there was a lot of turbulence on the high pressure and the intermediate pressure side, simply because it's higher pressure trying to mix with the lower pressure. So they wanted to force it through to the LP side. So it was one of those things.
What's the risk of being burnt by this?
3 days after they've cooled off, you shut them down 3 days, then you work on it. And, the top plate is weighs about 20 tonne. The row of 1.5-inch bolts all the way around, and by the time you undo them, take all the silvery stuff off and get into them. They're warm when they still get into them, but they're not hot. This here's turning. This is a lathe I used to enjoy working on. It was known as the biggest lathe in New Zealand. That's a low pressure, high pressure. That shaft weighs 40 tonne. Through there, the tail stop there, the saddle is in here somewhere. They're reblading a turbine there. The chuck on it, actually another picture will show probably a bit better. The chuck here It's 9 feet in diameter,
Oh,
so it's not small. The centre, the tailstock here, I could just reach the tailstock like that and take it out. It had a number 11 centre or something. It was a massive thing. The whole base of the lathe is what they call a plate bed lathe, so the whole floor is a plate bed. It's all cast iron, and if you want to do anything, you pick the tailstock up with the crane and shift it, and then you can lift the tool post saddle and all that, shift that, and then you connect it all with it, universal joints and shafts, and so you put angles. If you want to cut an angle on something, you can do that. So, but this centre this day, I'm nicely trying to get it out, and it slipped. It put a centre pop mark about 1 inch in diameter on the floor, so I had to get the old disc grinder out, grind it up, rub my foot in some dirt until it looked like it had been there for ages. So it's one of those things. But as you can see, you stand up, you walk up the ladder up there, get onto the tool post. Very dangerous lathe, because when you're up close by the chuck and it's going around, the slowest it goes is 2 revs a minute, the fastest was 62. If you had it on about 20, which seemed like screaming around, while you're up there, you're forever trying to put your hand up to stop yourself. You felt like you were falling into it all the time. And a couple of times I bounced off the chuck because I just felt I was going, and you forget the things going around, you know. It's just one of those things. So in those days, guess what? I worked there by myself, in that room by myself, nobody else around. So at the Wairakei one, I had to sit there with being a supervisor and watch the world all day, and yet there I used to work on my own, nobody there. Damn, lot more dangerous there. So.
it wasn't going to stop.
Eh?
It wasn't going to stop.
No, that's it. So, yeah. So now there's a whole heap of fellas in there. So it was a broad bent lathe, British lathe, so it was a good old lathe. Somebody said, how big were the tools? We used to run tip tools on. It was the start of tip tool days, and they used to be about 1.5 inches square and about 3/8 thick and holder. So, and I used to keep them, and most of them ended up in my brother's yacht for bottom of the centre board for weight. They're heavier than lead, so I filled it up and brought the lead around. So, yeah, as you can see, he's standing up there, he's up on the tool post. No reblading on there. This is how the reblading here, it's got half of them off here. What they do is they go in with a tool. In fact, when I was there, we were about to reblade the very first turbine to be rebladed, and the reason it was going to be rebladed is they went and lifted it out of the lathe, and I was standing there because I'm not allowed to do this. The riggers did all this work. They lifted it up very carefully and got it up, and it decided to swing round on them, and it screwed round and it bounced off the chuck, and it was this end set of blades that hit the chuck and bent them. So those days it was $4 million worth of damage to it. So, and the reason it was not well, they said 4 million, you've got to think of the extra loss of power generation was built into that cost. So, but I was not there to see it finished. The turbine blades, when they're there, this is how they held on. There's all different size blades, lengths and so forth. This is one that's shattered, dragged out, and so when you get them on the lathe to take the blades off, you just bring a parting tool in through here and just peel them off, and they all just fall off in a big heap, stand back and let it go. So, yeah.
Do you need any cutting lubrication when you're doing that, or do you just do it dry?
Dry, very dry, yeah. From the power generation,
How do they balance them after you work them?
good question. I asked the same question. They don't. Every blade is balanced before it comes. The wheel, original wheel was balanced, so that would have been done whoever manufactured the damn thing. We never balanced anything. And that's what I always used to wonder, because these things used to bounce and you think, what was out of balance? But
Well, a 90 ton armature, usually around about 90 ton and it's like that, spinning at 900 1,000 revs.
it's all right. It gets out of whack, yeah. But no, every blade is balanced. The strip on the outside is all weighed, and yeah, there's a lot in it. One of my first questions after was, how the hell are we going to balance this? I said, no, it's all been done. So, yeah. This goes out just to the substation, as we know, that the end coming from the, goes through the system and out to the, us poor people on the end who have to pay millions of dollars for the electricity, so all different switching gear. But quite a large, there's about 50 odd electricians that worked in the place, and and there was about 80 of us in the maintenance department, so, and that included carpenters and other things, but a lot of the leggies there. And the ultimate job to get was up in the control room where you sat for 8 hours a day and did nothing other than just looked at gauges, and it was paid a lot more than what we used to get as tradesmen. I went and looked at it a couple of times and I thought nothing. Now, why do I put prawns there? So some of the hot water that comes out and it's wasted goes back, and there's a big prawn farm being set up next door, and it's a tourist thing now, so they go and grow prawns. No, it's lake water, such before the arsenic. Now, somebody else said that, and I think one of the write-ups was that it's pure water, whatever it is. Yeah, it's good stuff. Now, the mushroom farming, no, they don't do mushroom farming there, but the reason I put it there was when I was working there, this fellow used to come around, he was a labourer. His name was Bruce. He used to come around and he'd say, "Do you want some mushrooms?" "Oh, yeah?" He said, "I'll bring you a bag." And I was like a couple of bob, or 5 bob or something for a big paper bag of mushrooms. I just never gave it a thought about where the hell I was getting these mushrooms from. Anyway, once I was a supervisor, next time I go in the office one day and they said, "Oh, I've got a major problem." I said, "What's the problem?" They said, "Bruce." Bruce was a bit of a scallywag, but he was a crane driver actually. He's got the mushroom farm going. And I said, "What mushroom farm?" He said, "Under B station." And I said, "What's under B station?" He said, "Well, he's been growing mushrooms there for the last 15 years. I said, "Where?" And he said, "Well, just by the machine shop that we had where that big lathe was, under the power station, it's all built in little cubes, about 12, 20 feet square little cubes, all right through the whole thing, with doorways. And every time I went down the steps to go and have a look down, it's just full of water. Well, the water's about 2 feet deep, it stays about that anyway. But it's nice and warm, and it's a perfect place for growing mushrooms." And he'd been doing this 15 odd years or something, and they said, "Oh, I've been doing it for years." It took 3 weeks to clean it out. He had so much stuff down there, trays and everything, so it was surprising what went on in power stations. It was and they were good mushrooms, I can tell you. I always remember that, so yeah. Wildlife, a lot of people used to say, does it affect the wildlife around the Wairakei with all the extra steam coming out and all that? No, the wildlife here, it's a New Zealand tui. You used to get a lot of them flitting around the place, which was good. One of the things I forgot to tell you, that Wairakei Valley, when I was there, had sunk 15 feet from the time they started. So where all the big pipelines go down to the power station, the whole valley floor had gone 15 feet. It's now 45 feet. It's gone down from the original levels of where it started from. So, and that's just through naturally taking the pressure out from underneath. It's just slowly sunk. And they're not sure how long it's still going to be active. Some write-ups on the internet says that 2013 they'll be decommissioning the power station, but now they've brought this binary plant in and other things, that'll be kept going. It's still doing well. It's running about 175 kilowatts power out of the station now, so it's still a very good power station. So yeah, that's it. The end. Time.